Well, the final Sunday of February 2021. I'm sure that a number of people will not be sorry to see the month leave after all of the winter weather we have had. But spring is coming, and I think that's what a lot of people are happy for. I myself, I like winter too, but I'm getting ready for warmer weather in springtime. Got some crocuses that are now blooming. We saw after the sun melted the snow around one of our front bushes, and some signs of bulbs coming near the house, trying to poke through a little bit. So hey, spring is coming. It's going to take a little time, but it is coming. That's something that our minds can see and can observe, and we can kind of deduct these things and come to those. That kind of reminds us a little bit of the fact that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, but he gives us the greatest, first and greatest commandment here. He says to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. Yes, we do need to do that with your mind too. It's not just, oh, that's just emotion and so on. That's our minds to think and to reason, and we need to use that to help also to love the Lord our God. We love him, we love the truth. And so Jesus said that if you're on the side of truth, then you will listen to me. And that's what we are. We are on the side of truth. We listen to Jesus, we want to listen to him, obviously, and we want the truth. And our mind is something that should seek the truth. Our mind is just absolutely stunning. It's amazing what God has made. You look at our brains, if you will. And our brain, where it is just for an example of seeing things. We are born with a primary visual cortex. It's way in the back there, the back of the head. I guess it's the back of the head. Cerebellum is the base of it, and then you see the orange section there. And this is kind of like your screen. In a way, it's kind of like if you have a computer, but you don't have a screen for it. You don't have a monitor, or you don't have any kind of screen or something like that, or on your phone you don't have a screen. Well, what good does it do? You're very handicapped because you can't see what you're doing if you don't have a screen. Same thing here. If you don't have the visual cortex, you're not going to be able to see what you're doing. Even though your eyes may work, your brain's not giving a picture, so you can't understand what your eyes are seeing. You can't see, you're blind. But there was a 7-year-old Australian boy who lost his visual cortex, or visual center, if you will, shortly right after his birth due to some just very weird thing that happened, and it kind of like just died. It just kind of killed it, if you will. Today, as a 7-year-old, he plays soccer, he enjoys puzzles, video games, and name it. He does all kinds of things. But he is very nearsighted, but he can clearly see. So how is it possible, if he doesn't have a visual cortex, that he can see? Oh, must be a medical marvel. We came up with something incredible, right? Actually, no. What it was that this little boy's brain, when he was very young, again, he was a newborn when this happened, that somehow his brain, in developing further after he was born, it almost like it realized something was wrong. And it rewired itself. It kind of fixed itself, if you will. And it created a new visual center. So he can now see. Now, it's not quite like the original, but it's amazing the brain did this. How did the brain know to do this? I mean, I know from just personal experience that people have known, even in family, brain injuries. That the brain, the doctors talk about how it can rewire itself and reroute the way the synapses and so forth, and how it sends signals and so forth, so it can process things and it can actually kind of heal itself. How does it do that? I mean, when we have something that we call artificial intelligence, because it can reason, or maybe it can try to heal itself too, well, that's artificial intelligence. It takes an incredibly powerful program in order to be able to do that. That's kind of what we're seeing here, an engineering marvel. God has wired the brain to be able to do some things like this. It's truly stunning, the power of our minds. And we didn't even understand a ton of what our brain really does and all of it. There's so much more that we are learning. But despite how amazing and incredible it is, the brain is limited. Yeah, it is. We're limited in what we can do. Sometimes we don't think so, but we're limited. And I'm sure that you have actually felt this limitation in your life too. For example, you go into, you're in one room in your house, and you decide to go into another. And you walk into that other room, and you're standing there, and then suddenly, after you've been there a minute or something, you're like, what did I come in here for? You're kind of like, what was it? You're scratching. I came in here for something. Now, what was it? You're like, oh, I hate it when that happens. Once we get old, right? So then what you do is you walk back into the first room, kind of retrace your steps. And you're like, oh, now I remember. And then you go and get it. Actually, that's something that the brain does. It's called the doorway effect. What it is that when you're in one room, all the data of that room is kind of like stored in your brain, so if you know all of it. When you walk through a doorway, what happens is all of a sudden everything is new. And your brain then like unloads that data and then picks up the new data for the new room. I mean, it does it like that really fast. Okay, but it's kind of like it's dumping data and then it's reloading data. And so when you walk in, what happens is when you the brain dumped the data from the other room, guess what? It also dumped the reason you came into the other room, the next room. And so when you walk in, it's like, boom, the big data dump, and you're like, why am I here? It got lost. So then when you go back into the other room, you pick that data back up, and you're like, oh, now I remember. There really is something to retracing your steps. It really is. It's kind of cool when you think about it. But again, our minds are limited. It's limited because God is God and we are not. And that kind of reminds me of some rules that you can live by. Very simple rules, very easy to remember. These are just some very basic general things. Kind of help you every day, if you will. First, God is God. Second, I am not. Third, God is holy and righteous. Fourth, I am not. 5, God is my creator. 6, I am not. 7, Jesus is my Savior. 8, I am not. I got to remember who I am and who God is. Despite how great and awesome my mind is and my brain and so forth, I got to remember who's who here. He's God, I'm not. I'm the one who needs to be saved, and He's the one who does the saving. But we need to use our minds to love Him. We need to use our minds for the Lord, to live for Him. Especially today. I mean, actually, it's been ever since the beginning, but especially today, we need to use them to sift through the propaganda, through the deceptions and the outright lies that are told all over the place. I mean, it's not that it's new, it's just that it's maybe more blatant at different times and so forth. This has certainly been in our world for a very long time. But we need to be able to sift through that and seek out the nuggets of truth. What is real? What is that which corresponds to reality? What's real? And we need to be able to proclaim that and share that with people. Obviously, the message of the gospel is number one. But I just wanted to give you some thoughts to think about on our minds, because our minds are truly incredibly powerful, and they are wonders of His creation. But we must use them for His purpose and to love Him, to worship Him, not for our own purposes and to make ourselves and build ourselves up into something greater than what we really are. So just a little reminder of God's creation and His wonder.